Thank God that's over. What started with such promise and expectation ended with such sorrow and disappointment. From its bombastic, high-octane opening, First Light slows to a crawl as you enroll in spy training. Think Hogwarts School of Espionage and Intelligence. Only to then descend into mirth and slapstick spy capering once the real work begins. Descending literally by the end of the game as you explore the vast subterranean and unchecked passageways under MI6. Which hardly seems like a place that you'd want to build your top secret, top security spy agency upon. But the game designers don't care about the game world making sense, just using the license, it seems. A license to swill. And well, whilst I said explore, there's really only one way around for most of this game, and that's to follow the yellow tape. Mats and arrows that someone has handily left around indicating all the pathways. These secret agents are so thoughtful. Luckily, the enemies are mostly clueless though, else they would have infiltrated MI6 a long time ago. Which is ironic, seeing as the game centers around an AI supercomputer that predicts all. It didn't predict how poor this game would be though. Or maybe it did, who knows? But I guess all the RAM chips were taken in powering this supercomputer, hence there was nothing left for the enemy AI, as they failed the most basic of tasks such as not running into your line of fire, not reacting when you are fighting their comrades in the next room, or often even in the same room, and not noticing anything amiss when you're hacking objects to create disturbances or traps. And speaking of the next room, Bond can't move to the next room if there are hostiles about. I'm not talking about exiting a level. I mean just moving on to the next staged fish-in-a-barrel shoot-'em-up fest. Why? I'm Bond. I want to open the door. Why can't Bond open a door just because there are hostiles about? I want to do that precisely because there are hostiles about. Perhaps it's to hide the fact that the enemy AI is so banal that exiting a scene will then just cause them to give up and cease their pursuit. Not that it's difficult to dispatch enemies, it's just tiring time and time again, defeating similar enemies the same way. In fact, the only way this game can put up a challenge is by throwing a large number of enemies at you in one go, enemies who then constantly fire whenever you break cover, or often even if you don't. Firing constantly at your position even though they can't hit you, seemingly with unlimited ammo, whilst you have limited ammo. And that's it. That's what passes for serious combat in 007 First Light. Though don't get me started on the combat. How woeful it is. Clunky, cumbersome, crap. You can take half a dozen gunshots and recuperate your health, but have a few bad guys push you around a bit and it's game over. Even more so in one scene when you're being tortured. I say tortured, but it's more of a light tickling, though fail to antagonize your captor correctly, and it's still game over.
Thanks.
Until your fellow prisoner deems fit to escape their shackles. Why did they not just do that at the beginning? It makes no sense. Nothing makes sense. With no skill trees and no leveling up, what you're given is what you get. A punch, a parry, and a dodge. And whilst you can string them together in limited combos with no targeting and farcical enemy AI, it often just ends up as a button mash, with you with being Mike Tyson one moment and Pee Wee Herman the next. That's when you're not being Mr. Bean, unable to lay a glove on some of the bosses, so instead, you have to run around, lure them near to an environmental object, and then set that off for them to take damage. So Bond can't punch these baddies, but bright lights? That will hurt them. Seriously. Fight one boss with the floodlights to lower their health bar. You do have some gadgets, but like most of the game, they make little sense. Dart guns that make people ill for a bit, though no one gets suspicious. Missile pens that are more powerful than your gun just give me dozens of pens. Lasers that blind people, all with no one noticing. Use these and other items to cause a distraction. The childlike NPCs fall for it time and time again. The same NPCs, the same distraction, over and over. And to refill, you have to collect either power or chemicals dotted around the environment. That's it. Run around touching things to refill your gadget meters. And speaking of collecting, I haven't even touched on the collectibles that do nothing. And you've no idea where they are as there is no map. Nor the eavesdropping mechanic where to get certain clues you have to stand in a spot and pretend you are on your phone to then trigger the NPC's canned dialogue. This is slapstick Bond. Think Batman the TV series applied to James Bond the movie. More the Living Daylights Bond than Casino Royale Bond. Everything feels half-baked and undercooked. Hell, I'd rather Gordon Ramsay's Bond. And the story. Corny and cheesy to say the least, with some cringy dialogue sprinkled on top. I can only think the scriptwriters must have written the outline and then taken the rest of the time off. Given it to the underpowered AI to finish, for it is poor. Or maybe the AI just gave up also. This does not feel in any way, shape, or form like a PS5 game. It can't even claim to be a PS4 game cross-gen game. No, it's more like a PS3 game dressed up in a PS5. Which is probably harsh to a lot of PS3 games. You can put a bow tie on a pig, but it's still a pig, or something. I couldn't help but think of the acclaimed Indiana Jones and the Great Circle as I was playing this, as whilst there are similarities in terms of what they are both trying to achieve, in the battle of the movie tie-ins, there is only one winner, and it's not 007, not even close. This is all without mentioning the frequent game hangs and crashes, or the repetitive dialogue, or the dialogue that's out of sync with the action, or the ridiculous bluffing that you can engage in to sometimes to avoid combat, or the continuity error in the final scenes where 1 minute you're wearing a jacket and the next, you're not. To be fair, there is one positive, that being Lenny James as John Greenway. His voice acting is superb. The rest of the cast, passable, much like the game, but only just. To wrap, I'd like to give this game a 7 just to align with its moniker, but I can't. In all conscience, I can't do it. Instead, it's a 006 out of 10 for this version of 007.
After 24 hours,
You piss it out, I stop the bad guys, and we all go home.
give it here.